Welcome to Resilience Through Apocalypse. I am so excited for everything you're going to be gathering from these conversations. I hope that you feel super supported, and if it's resonating with you, I invite you to share it with your friends, your family, and your community. This way, as many people as possible can have access to this resource. You can send them to rta.wearewsl.com. All right, let's get into this interview. Hello, and today on Resilience to Apocalypse, we are focusing on environments. And I had to ask my friend Angela Angel here because she is an herbalist. I see her as a plant medicine woman, especially in the Philam community. And I love the work that she does with ancestral medicine and ancestral work. And she's definitely somebody I look up to. So I had to ask her here. So welcome, Angela. Did you want to give a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Genevieve, for having me here. So I'm Angela. I come from the northern part of the Philippines. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. I'm here in the Bay Area. I am a plant tender, a plant keeper, a mushroom keeper. I've also been a environmental justice, social justice organizer for a long time. So both of those things and my art are very much woven in my work. So yeah, I'm gonna say that right now.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for being here. It's really exciting for you to be here. So the first thing that I wanted to ask is, in terms of our relationship to the earth, what does resilience mean to you?
Resilience is being able to know ourselves in a way where we identify with the earth, in a way where, all of us came from a land-based culture and tradition, and many of us have been broken apart for that for a long time, but we're still very much connected and come from that place. And so our resiliency comes from there. Everything that we know in our DNA, everything that we know about how to take care of this world, how to take care of the children, comes from earth knowledge, comes from the elements. And so by learning and studying with her and being with the earth and just connecting with her, I believe we can find our ways to being more resilient during this time. All the technologies that we have right now, they're relevant, but they're not gonna feed us. They're not gonna keep us healthy. They're not gonna free us. They're not gonna create the systems that we need to truly be resilient. And the Earth's technology has always been the most sustainable one. So I find all of my resilience there, and that's a big place to start. There's so many ways I can enter to talk about what that actually looks like, but um, just being with her and listening to her is where we could start with our resiliency.
I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah, the earth does make me feel resilient, especially in terms of providing food. That's where we get our nourishment from. And I know that you have like a really bountiful garden. Um, and I know that a lot of people are starting gardens now as a way of creating that resilient relationship with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because everybody's at home, people are realizing that having your own garden means having your own medicine and your own food. So, I just wanted to ask, what are your go-to plants in your garden?
Wow. They might get jealous if I just try to pick out one. There's so many. Maybe I'll start with like the ones that I've been like growing and have been with that have been there for a long time. And that I continue to grow and be with each year. So definitely tobacco. So tobacco, gets a big bad rep in this world, and it's been abused.
Yeah.
Um, but it's such a beautiful plant. It's heart medicine. I actually right before we started, I went out and picked a tobacco leaf. Look how big this is.
Whoa, I never realized it was that big.
Yeah. Um, so
Huge.
this is heart medicine.
Mm.
In lots of traditions in the Americas, this is used for the heart, the emotional heart, and heartache, heartbreak.
Yeah.
Definitely a grieving plant right now. And so I put that in the garden for that reason, but also to remember my ancestors. My grandfather was a tobacco farmer. They're also really great for pests. So
Oh.
they're one of the best plants. One of the best plants for insects like pests that you don't want to have there in the garden because it's really sticky. So it's traps the plants onto the leaf. So tobacco, I'm growing like 6 different kinds of tobacco. They all smell different. They smell like jasmine and all sorts of things.
Wow.
Yarrow is one of the first plants I grow when I start a garden, whether it's my own garden I'm starting or I'm helping others to start, because it creates like healthy boundaries. So I will plant it like at the corners of a garden. Um, and what else? Beets. I'm always planting beets because they're yummy, and I like to plant things that you can basically eat everything. So with beets, you can eat the leaves, which are really really nutritious and they're yummy, and then you have your beets. What else? Growing a lot of different kinds of peas, like snow peas, snap peas. The really aromatic peas. Peas are really great for, in their energetic essence, good for bringing in community and friendships into your life.
Yeah.
So I think that would be good for right now too, even though
Right.
we can physically bring people over, but we definitely still need all that community right now
Mhm.
in our isolation.
Definitely.
And then maybe one more thing I wanted to know right now, I'm growing a lot of skullcap.
Mm.
So skullcap is for the nervous system, especially for times when people are overthinking, overanalyzing, can't turn off their brains at night, on the phone, worrying about everything. And I've noticed I've had to like prescribe that more. So I'm growing a lot more skullcap right now. And it's a beautiful plant. It has these purple flowers that don't grow like from the stem. It grows like on top of the stem. It's like a different type of growth, but it's really beautiful.
That sounds beautiful. I've never seen a skullcap flower. I've seen the leaves, but I've never seen the flower. So I definitely am gonna look that up after this. Well, thank you for sharing your go-to plants for your garden. I know that like from when you brought the plants to the workshop you taught that I went to, I could just feel from the energy of your plants that they really enjoyed living in your garden. um, so I'm gonna ask you some stuff about like medicinal stuff, but before we get into that, I just want to make the disclaimer to everybody that neither of us are medical like doctors or professionals. And my herbal medicine teacher would always say like we never diagnose and prescribe, but we assess and recommend. um, and so just got to make that disclaimer. Um, so with that said, what plans do you recommend for immune support for overall health during the pandemic? I know a lot of people are worried about getting sick and then wanting to build their immune system to take a more preventative approach.
So my go-to herbs, actually they're mushrooms, so technically not plants, for immunity. Like before this happened and most of my life, I rarely get sick, like maybe once every 3 years. And mushrooms definitely have been my top immunity plants or herbs, sorry, mushrooms that have helped me and that I recommend right now. I would definitely say reishi, um, the lucidum red reishi. That is a really good one for just grounding too. Feeling grounded during this time. It has that very grounding energy. I would call it a shamanic herb too, not in like hallucinogenic way, but more in the sense that like it's a master herb. It's been around for a long time. It's been used for a long time. It's very tried and true, and it supports you, like very keeps you steady. That's how I would describe some of its energy. Another one that I've been using and suggesting to folks is chaga. So chaga is also anti, supports with the immunity, but I'm using it right now because of all of this technology we're having to use. So there's an extra amount of radiation, EMF waves that we're interfacing with that people are not even talking about, like this extra amount of like the buzzing and everything, and that's taking some heat on our immune system. Like we're not supposed to be in front of a screen for 8 to 12 hours. So that's affecting our immunity. So I've been adding like chaga. Chaga is another mushroom. It looks different. It doesn't look like a parasol like other mushrooms, but it's a type of mushroom that grows on dead birch trees that helps with radiation. It helps protect you from that, and the waves that you absorb. It helps you protect. It helps protect you from that, and it has a lot of immunity properties as well. And it tastes good. It's very earthy. And then like if you're actually sick, you have a cold or a cough, even if it's not COVID-19, you know, my best cold, cough, and flu are kitchen remedies. So oregano, thyme, raw garlic, honey, lemon, all of those are very, very useful. Ginger, it's getting warmer now, so ginger and turmeric you might like go a little bit lower on that, or you would want to make a cold infusion because you don't want to overheat yourself too. But yeah, the kitchen stuff, and it's all accessible. I try to like give recommendations that are accessible, and that's not like out of stock or endangered. So you can find all of those things pretty easily if you don't have it growing already.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm so excited to have learned a little bit more about mushrooms because I love mushrooms and I didn't know that chaga grew on dead birch trees. That's good to know.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if chaga is one of, because I know that there's a mushroom that like actually eats like radiated waste, and I'm wondering if that's one of the ones that does that. um, so what is your number one tip for reducing suffering when you have the flu, cold, allergies, or other respiratory issues?
Yeah, I don't want to be like the downer, but this is what I tell folks all the time. It makes like a 75% difference or 150% difference. So staying away from inflammatory foods and mucus building foods, so that's dairy, that's processed sugar, um, that's gluten, wheat. Um, Meat also causes mucus, but I'm gonna just leave that like to the side, because I know not everyone's plant-based, and people have different diets. But yeah, you can avoid sugar and dairy for like 2 or 3 weeks, or if you already feel like you have something coming up, like lower all of the intake of that. I mean, I would say eliminate it in general in your life. But, if you're about to get sick, while you're sick, definitely do not start eating ice cream or yogurt. Yogurt has a lot of sugar, most yogurts, so you're getting the dairy and the sugar in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it makes such a difference. Like you will see, I have allergies, but I've only had allergies like 3 years in my adult life.
Yeah.
And this year, it's like 95% better because I'm not eating those foods.
Mm.
And I became mostly vegan 2 years ago. So like, I'm not having the same symptoms. I'm not sneezing like crazy. Um, so if you eliminate that, you will know, like, you're not going to be like sneezing and crying. And if you do have mucus when you're sick, it's going to be much less. And it's going to, like, the wave of all that coughing and congestion is going to go much faster. Like if it's like 5 days of like mucus, coughing, sneezing, you can eliminate that to like 3 if you just let go of some of those foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You never sometimes you don't think about like the food you eat as like being able to affect something like that. So, um it's definitely something to always think about. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Mhm.
Um I was gonna ask you something else, but I can't remember what it was. It had to do with what you were just saying. I'll probably remember it later. Um, uh, but yeah, I can't remember what it was, so I'll just move on to the next question. Um,
Was it a plant?
what?
Was it about plants?
Yeah, it was about plants. It was about something you said, but I can't remember. Um, okay, so the next question I have is kind of like a big question. Um,
Uh-oh.
and so I saw you post something on Instagram about this and about like how the cycles of capitalism are, getting interrupted with the pandemic. And we're getting to, as you mentioned, deprogram from it and attune to life's natural rhythms. So I wanted to ask, what are some ways that we can deprogram and attune to the Earth's cycles?
Yeah. Before I answer this, I want to say, you know, um, I recognize that people are in different places right now in terms of like how busy they are, what work looks like. Um, they might be taking more things on now, like they have kids that they have to teach,
Yeah.
or it could be the opposite, like people
Have to
have
work.
lots of time, and they're not working as much. So there's that big spectrum, and I want to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of fall like in the middle of that in terms of my daily routine. But you know, to answer that question, I've made the like intentional choice like a very long time ago when I started like rebuilding my relationship to the earth, of like doing the best I can to release myself from all the ways like capitalism gets in my blood, gets in my DNA, gets in my head, and in the way I walk in the world. And one of them was my relationship to time.
Mm.
And like I did a whole research project on like what time is and does it even exist and what that looks like in cyclical ways. Um, and time is like one of the biggest tools that capitalism imposes on us. In the general sense, in the bigger landscape of reality, there is no such thing as linear time. You know, that's hard to grasp in 3D terms, but there really isn't. And our ways of living and our ways of healing and the ways we our lifestyles, like our rhythms, there's cycles, which is a count of time, but it's not like a clock and a pace of like the way that capitalism uses it, you know, on us, against us. Um, so if you can, in the place that you find yourself right now in isolation, like doing all the different things you could do to release yourself from the capitalistic form of time, you know, taking back your sleep, number one. Like I know everyone now has at least an extra 30 minutes, if not 2 more hours, because they're not having to commute, you know, for those long periods of time. Um, Releasing yourself from the grind. You know, I know there are some people who have to like clock in and be on Zoom at 8 o'clock or whatever. But if you can, like, if you have your own schedule, if you have that privilege, then do that for yourself. Like I, at the beginning of isolation, I created a whole new routine for myself. I wrote down like how many hours I want to dedicate to actually doing this and this, how many hours I want to be in the garden. That was like 4 hours. So I gave myself permission. Yeah, I gave myself permission to like have my own schedule and create my reality, create my time.
I love that.
Yeah, that is like number one. Like get off that clock if you can. Like literally get off that clock.
Yeah.
And create your own schedule that fits you, you know, that still creates a routine, a healthy routine for yourself, but doesn't make you like be a rat anymore, basically.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah, this is a perfect time to do that. Again, unless you had to like talk to your boss at 9 o'clock on Zoom, like if you can prevent that, like, you know, just do that for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I actually resonate really deeply with, because I was on that capitalism hamster wheel for so long, and I was like so exhausted and burnt out that, you know, when the pandemic happened and I couldn't work anymore, like literally I couldn't work. And so I had like, you know, no choice but to stop and rest and do nothing. And it just really was eye-opening to me to see how long it took me like to get into a place where I could like even come and do like a Zoom call like this with you or create this like whole entire event. Like I basically like rested for a whole month.
Mhm.
Like I noticed that like my capacity to create is at like a different level as if like I'm as if my like cup is like negative full from capitalism. So even though this is a global crisis and there's a lot of uncertainty, especially like, you know, with a lot of people's finances and living situations and health and lives in general, this has been a chance for me to really see the way that capitalism has been affecting my life and my energy and my well-being. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So thank you.
Yeah. This is probably the first time in forever that a lot of people have been like looking at that, like, oh my gosh, this is how I've been running around for my adult life, you
Yeah.
know, for my life. Like, this is that's why I feel like this virus is so potent. I know there's a lot to say around it, but the medicine, I truly think there's there's a lot of things I think about this virus,
Yeah.
and in one angle, I treat it like medicine. To me, everything is medicine. To me, everything is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in one angle, I've been treating it like medicine, and I feel like it's been giving us these doses of like medicine that's like, wow, this is reality now. This is like the reality you were living in, and let me like reel you back and see, make you see what you were living in, you know.
Yeah.
And it had to be extreme because otherwise we'd be like still caught up in it and still defending capitalism. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of times our sickness from capitalism makes us defend it.
Mm.
Like, we will go to the lengths, be like, no, I gotta be busy, I gotta do this, like I have too much more to do. And that's not to say like to down people's struggles, but it's more like we gotta like start coming out of there and reclaiming our space and our own time, because yeah, again, your question around programming, that's what programming is.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think we can be at a really exciting pivotal point in our history where um you know, it's kind of like when we even went from feudalism to capitalism. Yeah, I think it's time to go from capitalism to I don't know what the word is, but the word where everybody's taken
It
care
shouldn't
of.
be an ism. It shouldn't
You
be an
know,
ism, but
it's not an
it's
ism, it's just like humanism. Like I'm caring for my fellow human. And so yeah, I definitely and another thing that it's reminding me of that you reminded me of when you said that is it's kind of like when we talk about in health like the healing crisis, like how you get like worse before you get better.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like humanity's healing crisis
Mhm.
where it like the suffering and the harm, none of it makes it okay, and like we can use this crisis as a way to like make things better for everybody, as pandemics historically have in the past. um I remember my question from before. Okay, so it's kind of a silly question, but so you said no sugar, but would you eat sugar straight from the sugar cane, or is that like a no-go?
Are you really gonna go out and get some sugar?
I I ate a sugar cane for the first time in my life, and it literally I felt like I was missing out my whole life. Like,
Yeah. Well, pure sugar cane is medicine. It's
yeah,
actually stabilizes your blood sugar. ironically, but
Oh, really?
yeah, it does.
Wow.
So it's actually good for you. Like um, fruit sugars or natural sugars, they're okay. Just don't take too much. Like orange juice, you should not be. People drink orange juice because they're trying to make up for vitamin C when they're
Yeah.
sick, but it strikes up your blood sugar like so fast. It has very high amounts of sugar, but
Never thought of that.
yeah, you could drink sugar cane. Um, I was gonna say something else about sugar cane. Shoot, I forgot. It'll come back. Wow,
Yeah, you forgot.
question keeps making us forget. But yeah, there's some other medicine I wanted to tell you about sugar cane. But yeah, you can have sugar cane.
That's
It's not that sweet when you have it fresh. It's like coconut water.
when I had it was so sweet. I couldn't stop eating it. I was like eating it and chewing it until it was like shards in my mouth and I just spit it out. It was so it felt like heaven. I was like biting into it and I was like, is this just what my ancestors ate in the Philippines like all day? Like
That one must have been in the sun longer. Because
yeah.
the sweeter a fruit is, the longer it's been out in the sun.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was actually a sugarcane patch like in the sun. It was in Costa Rica and it was just like in a really
Ah.
sunny area. And it changed my life. I was like, wherever I move to, I need to have a sugarcane patch because that's going to be my source of sugar. Because I also don't want to have refined sugar, which is really.
Oh, I just remember what I was going to say.
Oh,
So she said refined sugar.
yeah,
So pure sugar cane, unprocessed, um, or like sugar cane juice, because
yeah.
you could use sugar cane juice in your baking or cooking, but it's
Mm,
harder to find.
yeah.
But refined sugar, one of the reasons also why it messes us up, not just like our congestion, but our whole body, and causes all sorts of havoc in our gut and our blood, is because usually the way they refine it, the way they process the sugar crystals, is by adding animal fat to it. So
No.
yeah, it's like
Not vegan.
you notice how the crystals, like sugar cane crystals, are really glossy. It's
Mm.
because they add like lard when they process it.
Well, I'm
So
never eating refined
yeah,
sugar again.
yeah. That's why it causes diabetes. Because if you were to just eat some of the sugar, like it would like still not be good for you, but it wouldn't be as bad if it was like processed that way, because all the extra stuff.
That's why they say sugar turns straight to fat because it is fat. I mean, maybe that it does too, but that probably isn't helping at all. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's like so insightful. Yeah, I like to use honey. I say that I'm vegan because I use honey, and I it when you work with sustainable bee farmers, it helps the bee population, which I think helps the ecosystem. So I'm like, really, it's a good thing to keep bees. I feel like. um. So, kind of like a question I want to close with is like, what can we do to come out of this time better within your reality and in right relationship with the earth?
Wow, thanks for the small last question. um, well, again, I want to make the disclaimer that like I recognize that people are at different places. I never want to be the type of person to tell people what to do or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, this time is so potent. It's so potent. I've been treating it. There's been different weeks, I know all of us are having like the waves and the crashes of like how we're doing during this time. feeling depressed, feeling lonely, feeling crazy, but um, throughout the last, 2 months, basically, I've been doing little experiments on myself, with myself, and treating this time in different ways. There's weeks where I treat it like just one long meditation, just one long retreat. Many of us have the privilege of having a home, having our bedroom, having food. And so going inward and just like retreating and sitting with yourself. There shouldn't be as many excuses anymore to like try to meditate right now. Like we can do that right now. It's so potent right now. My number one, besides getting rest and sleep, right now is just really being focused. Like being focused on, not focused like capitalism way, but focus on what you want your reality to really look like, and focused on yourself, like not in a narcissistic way, but like in the inward, going inward way, because there's an equal amount, if not more, of distractions being put into our brain, like capitalism trying to reel us back. Technology, I know we're all depending on it right now for connection, but like we're probably skyrocketing on our social media levels right now. Like, no, let's not do that right now. Like, let's really take this time.
I made a TikTok. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That's been given by this virus to a certain extent, for us to go inward, to retreat, and stay focused on the reality we want, and start acting upon that reality that we want. Like, don't start. I find a lot of people like give away their power a lot when they start asking like, well, what's going to happen? Or I hope this doesn't happen. Or like just waiting for something to happen, basically. Yeah. And I know that there are still structures in place that make us wonder about those things. And there's some things that we don't have control over, but energetically, we have control over a lot of things. Like energetically, we can start creating our realities in a way where like we're not giving in to those modes of productivity anymore. Like taking this time to just redefine what your reality looks like. Like if you back in grade school, my 4th and 5th grade teacher, he had us like build our own society, basically.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and he allowed us, or he gave us the tools to create it. Like, do you guys want money? Do you guys want a police department? Like, what would you want your society to look like?
It is so cute.
Yeah. I feel like we should start doing that now in our own little worlds, and like start taking back our imagination and start like, because we've been fed for a long time. We've been feeding the system, and the system has been feeding us. And we've been in this really, really messed up codependent relationship with capitalism. And we've forgotten how to just like imagine our worlds.
Yeah.
And so if we can just take the time every day to think about like, oh, what would it be like if I had access to like a regular income every month? What would I actually do with my time?
Yeah.
Some people are like losing their jobs right now, and I know that's like super, super, including myself, I lost a lot of work. Super, super scary. But if you can get to a balance where you're just like, well, this is opportunity right now. Like I can do so much with
Yeah.
my time. I can finally start reading those books about making my garden. Like make your garden, like do make your garden. do
Doing.
your do your gardening. Yeah, so staying focused. Um staying focused on the reality you want, and acting upon that energy. Um yeah, that's really, really important right now because there's going to be more and more distractions. I promise you. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to keep, yeah. And don't feed it. Just feed yourself and feed what's nourishing.
Yeah.
Feed what's nourishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I definitely agree. Like, I haven't been able to be like creative like this, where I get to do something that's like feels really purposeful and in alignment with like the world that I want to create, like creating this event. Um, but it's because that there's this pause in work, like I don't work, that I can like be here creating this. And so it's like a good and a bad thing. Like it's like it sucks that I like can't like work and like find consistent income like the old way that I used to, but then it's also like I'm being invited to like actually create like what I've always wanted to create. Um and I think that's so cool what your teacher did about that exercise. I think when I have kids
Mhm.
I want to have them do that. I think that'd be really cute to see what kind of world they would create.
Yeah. We're so used to like other powers creating things for us. Like, we need to, again, the deprogramming. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's actually like one of my dreams is like to buy land in the Philippines and kind of like create like this like decolonized future indigenous like smart eco village where like philams in the diaspora could like return and like decolonize ourselves and like return back to the land and like of course like help the indigenous people already there, but like that's like a long-term dream of mine. So I love that you just said that because that's something I totally want to do, but like for real. So putting that vision out there.
Mm.
There's a billionaire listening. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
You never know. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and joining us today to talk about resilience to apocalypse. How can we stay in contact with you or in touch with you? And do you have any like upcoming classes or anything exciting coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So on the web, you can find me. My website, my main website is otherwaysofseeing.com. Just one long phrase. That's also my Instagram handle, Other Ways of Seeing. I also have a web shop that has my herbal products, which is on Etsy under Nature as Muse. Again, that's all spelled out in one way. And then as far as offerings, so I've been in a little bit of a tug of war with Zoom and with like making my offerings in a way that like still feels really good, because herbalism is one of the hardest things to translate, on online. It's so tactile, it's so embodied, like
Yeah.
healing work is so embodied. So I've been like trying to scheme this past month to see what that's going to look like. I'm definitely going to have something, but it looks like it's gonna come out more towards the summer, like in June.
In June.
June.
That's awesome. Well, the event ends on the 24th, so I so that's not too far away.
Yeah, so I will have like some offerings. I'm still settling on what that's gonna look like, because I don't want to burn people out looking at their screens. I'm trying to respect that.
Yeah.
And there's some other offerings I'm having, but I'm not organizing them, so I don't know. I don't know when they're happening, but they will happen. If you just go on my Instagram or one of those things, you'll see it eventually.
I love your Instagram. I feel like I'm always being inspired and learning. I feel like when I read your page, it like brings me into alignment, because it's like, I don't know, there's medicine on there, there's like wisdom about like the way that we could be living right now through all of this. So I really appreciate everything that you do and the space you hold in community and all the medicine and wisdom you share. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Genevieve, and thank you to everyone that's listening. Please connect with me. I'm sending all my blessings and immunity power. And I bless you all with this tobacco leaf here. And yeah, I will see you in my dreams or in the ether.
We'll see you in Dream World, everyone. Bye.